Hi, Kim Bonifant again from the Vintage Place with more treasures. We buy, we sell, we even value items and help you sell them. We melt gold and silver, but we find treasures like this cabinet from the 1920s, Art Nouveau, slightly Art Deco, a four-season oak cabinet, or this beautiful piece of porcelain from Central Europe. Now here's a very important treasure at the Vintage Place. This is an RAAF Memorial to Spitfires and Hurricanes, which were formed at Bankstown in 1941 and which flew all over the Middle East, and where a number of people died from South Africa, Britain and of course Australia. This is important. This was sold off of necessity when the government took over Bankstown Airport to make an international airport. We've kept it here in the Vintage Place for a decade or so, in the hope that it might end up in some RAAF museum or the right sort of place. It is important because these people died in the actions over the Middle East and ultimately in the liberation of Europe. This is an Australian memorial to Australian Spitfires and Hurricanes. Very, very important. And we even have a compass here from an original Spitfire. Now that's interesting because they were made by AWA in Australia, but this one was the only thing that showed up with radioactivity when we checked out what was in our shop. That's because the dial is radium. If we broke the glass, it could be dangerous, but with the glass unbroken, it's safe and inert. This is the reverse side of the memorial, with a painting of a Spitfire and a Hurricane. Interesting point. The Battle of Britain, we all talk about it being won by the Spitfires, but the ones that took the load were the Hurricanes. Quite undervalued in terms of what really happened. These were original paintings, very accurate and worth looking at. This is a very important part of Australia's history. 1930s, the Depression, the one thing that kept the average Australian hopeful was Phar Lap, Australia's most important horse, albeit born in New Zealand. But this painting is one of only 2 or 3 known of Phar Lap just before or around the time he died when he went to America to race. Now, the owner of the horse, part owner, was Harry Telford. He commissioned this one here, which is the original, and this one was done about 6 months later in 1932. A very rare painting of a very rare animal, a very rare horse, which would be 100 years old today if he was still with us. This little booklet lists all of Phar Lap's 37 victories. It's important because the painting on the front is the one commissioned by the part owner Harry Telford, and it's the same as the one here with the same jockey Jim Pike on it, although it's about 6 months later that this particular painting was done. Biblia Sacra, Volume 1 of 5 volumes, handmade paper in the original Latin. This is Genesis. I don't know how many of you read Latin, but quod erat demonstratum. Beautifully done, handmade paper by Dali in the 1960s, was filled with lithographs and a very, very valuable collector's item of the original 1499 made. From the Biblia Sacra in Latin to the James I Bible in English. 1611, this was commissioned. A lovely Bible. This example was sold door to door in the mid-1800s. 4 different versions. You could buy one with a cheap cover, or a better cover, or a leather cover, or this one which had the lockable brass hinges like that. The Bible most of us would know today, an English King James version of the Bible in English. This one, very well known, Reverend John Brown's version, popularly held by Englishmen and others during the 19th century. A beautiful old Bible with lovely illustrations right throughout and a section at the front for your family history. Here's one of the illustrations inside. If Latin is too difficult for you, or a heavy Bible like that is too heavy for you, how about this? You could wear this around your neck, you could carry it in your pocket. You might need a magnifying glass to read the entire Bible in something this small. More treasures at the vintage place. These two bronze storks, well, frankly, these birds have flown. They've been sold, typical of what can come into the vintage place and what can leave fairly quickly. They're beautiful. They're going up north of Sydney where they'll stand by a dam in the open air. Thank you again. Watch the vintage place next week to see what treasures you could buy or sell or discover.